Hey everyone, it's me, Modest Maya. Today we're going to be doing a story time about how I found out that I have breast cancer. The goal of my channel is just to uplift and encourage someone who may be going through the same thing, who may have just found out they have breast cancer or already knew they have breast cancer and don't know how to cope with it in a positive way, just to show that you can still go through it and still have life after the diagnosis. So if you can't tell, I've already cut off my hair. I will be uploading the official haircut video of me in the salon with my friend who cut my hair for me. I'll upload that maybe later this week, probably tomorrow, but stay tuned for that video. So let's get into it. So we're talking about how I found out I have breast cancer. In case you haven't already watched my previous video, I have stage 2/3, between stage 2 and 3, breast cancer. It is invasive ductal carcinoma. I started chemo 3 weeks ago, almost 4 now. So in July of 2023, I moved from California to Louisiana. I got here, I'm a hairstylist, for those that don't know, and I wasn't able to work right away. I was trying to get settled in. I had to switch my license over from California cosmetology state board to Louisiana's cosmetology state board, and it took a while for that process. So I was off work for up until maybe September. In September, I was laying in bed one night and I did a self-exam. Don't even know why, just out the blue, and I felt a lump. And I didn't think nothing of it. I have 4 children. I felt lumps before that just went away. So I was thinking, okay, maybe this is just something else that's going to go away. So I waited about a week, maybe a week and a half, and it still didn't go away. So I talked to my aunt. She is a nurse. And I went to her. I was like, hey, what is breast cancer lump supposed to feel like? Because I felt a lump. And she was like, well, you should go get checked out because you know that runs in your family. And I'm like, no, I didn't know. So I got on Google, looked up the nearest doctor dealing with breast exams and breast cancer. I was new here. I didn't know anybody. So I kind of just found the first one that had an appointment available. Went to the appointment. I told him that I felt 2 lumps, actually, not just one. I felt 2. And he did a hand exam. When I went to that appointment, he said he also felt the 2 lumps that I felt, but he didn't think that it would be anything serious, and he was going to send me for a mammogram. Being that I'm only 31 years old, when he sent me for a mammogram, another doctor called to confirm because she's like, are you sure this is supposed to be a mammogram appointment due to your age? And I'm like, yeah, we found a lump, and so she scheduled me for the mammogram. I go in for the mammogram, and the doctors don't even want to let me in. So, like I said, I had just moved here. My insurance from California was not accepted there. So they were about to turn me away. And I'm like, can't y'all just bill me? Just bill me. I promise if I give the bill to my insurance company, they'll pay the bill. But they didn't want to do that. And so I waited for a manager to come. Manager said, hey, there's nothing we could do. I go out. I call my aunt. I'm like, they don't bill people out here? What's going on? Why can't they just bill me? They telling me I got to leave and come back when my insurance is straight. And my aunt is like, no, they should be able to bill you, so go back in. So I get on my phone. I sign up for Medicaid because I'm like, okay, I'm not even working right now. I can put my income at 0 and I should get approved for Medicaid. So I do that. I get approved. I show them the message and they're still like, you don't have no insurance number. We can't help you. So I wait in the lobby because I'm thinking there's no way that y'all just gonna turn me away, especially because they already found a lump and you guys have that information. So I'm thinking it should be a way around this. Finally, a receptionist comes to me and she's like, can't we just put in her social and do it that way through Medicaid? If nothing comes up, they'll send you a bill later. I'm like, that's exactly what I said. I'm sure there's a way that y'all could just send me a bill. So after an hour passes, my appointment is already gone. They still decide to see me and I go in for the mammogram. Thank God, because it came back positive. And who's to say when I would have found out if they wouldn't have let me be seen that day. I go in for the mammogram. This is beginning of October now. About a week passed from my initial appointment, and the mammogram shows masses in my breast. That doctor told me that he's seen at least 3 lumps on the mammogram. So now it go from me feeling 2, initial doctor feeling the 2 that I felt, and him seeing 3. At the time, the doctor that they wanted to refer me to was not in. It wasn't her week for exams. So they told me that I needed a biopsy, which is basically them taking a sample of the tumors and seeing if they're cancerous. So I go into that appointment and she does the exam. I get the mammogram done, the second mammogram. She also does an ultrasound at this appointment. On the ultrasound, she actually shows me the tumors themselves, and she found 7. So now we went from 2 to 3 to 7. She showed me all 7 of them. Some were tiny, some were bigger. My largest one was about, I want to say 5 centimeters big. The smallest one was about, I want to say a centimeter. And so there's 7 total. And she tells me, this is very much possible that this is cancer. I want you to prepare yourself. And at this time, when she's telling me, I'm like, okay, I understand what's going on. But I was being so calm that she kept reiterating it to me. Like, I just want you to know it could be cancer. We're going to do a biopsy just to make sure. And I was like, okay, I get it. I understand. I know what you mean. I know God, and he's bigger than cancer. So I was not worried about it. So I go in. Well, she does the biopsy that same day. They take, I think, 6 samples from 2 of the tumors that they see. They took them from the biggest ones and send them in to get tested to see if they are cancerous. 2 days later, they got the results, and she called me and she was like, hey, is it Shemaya? I'm like, yeah. She said, I have your results from your biopsy. Are you in a place where you could talk? I'm like, yeah, I'm out driving, but I'm okay. She's like, are you sure? So I already knew. As soon as she said, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. What's going on? She's like, well, all the samples that we took were cancerous. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, the next steps is for you to come in so that we can get you started. I want you to schedule to see a surgeon and also the oncologist to talk about what's the next steps. So she schedules me with the surgeon. She schedules me with the oncologist, and I go see the surgeon first. The surgeon is the one who explained to me everything that will be going on from her point of view, what she thought that what will happen next, and the oncologist will confirm or deny what she's saying based on further results, further imaging. So I go see the surgeon. She tells me, you definitely need surgery. You definitely need a mastectomy, which is them cutting off a breast. You definitely need chemo. You may need radiation. So I'm like, okay. Myself, I personally thought chemo and radiation was the same thing. So that was a shocker. But I was like, okay. And I had my aunt with me at this appointment while she's telling me everything. She's giving me all the details, telling me all of the medications that they will be putting through the chemo, the process of it all, how long it will take. She's just laying it out to me, everything, the whole process. And I'm still calm. She's like, you are the calmest person that I've ever seen while telling this news. I'm like, well, what can I do about it? I can't. God is so much bigger than this. I can't do nothing about it anyway. So it's no point in me getting worked up. And so she's like, I love that. But so she continues to tell me, she's like, you have the choice to whether or not they take one breast or both. And I was like, well, both, because who wants to walk around with one? But she also told me I can get reconstructive surgery, which is basically either taking tissue from somewhere else in my body and putting it in my boobs, or getting implants. And I can do it at the same time that they take the surgery if I don't need radiation. And so I was like, okay, I'll think about it. And she was scheduling me with the oncologist, and his name is Dr. Petty. Amazing doctor. Now, something I want to point out, through all of this, I got referred to all the best doctors. Like, every time someone asks, oh, who's your surgeon, who's your oncologist, and I tell them, they're like, oh, they're great, like, you're going to love him or her. And I'm like, God, you're so good, just putting me in position to get all the best care, because who do I know out here? I don't know anybody. None of my immediate family that I'm here with now has went through breast cancer. So for God to just line it up like that is amazing. So before I go meet with the oncologist, they scheduled me for a chemo class. It was called Chemo 101. And the coordinator at the Chemo 101 class, she told me everything that will be going on during chemo, all the medicines that I will be taking, all the side effects from each medicine, which ones are common, which ones are not. They have me on 4 medications total: Taxol, carboplatin. I can't remember the other 2, but I will list them below so that I can have that for you guys. But 4 medications total. It will take up to a year for all the treatments. And she told me what medication would do what. Like, she told me by week 3, your hair is going to start falling. She was right. She also told me about different things like nausea, diarrhea, and just different side effects. And some of them I experienced and some of them I have not. I'll share that in my side effect video though as well. And as she's explaining to me everything that will happen, she tells me about one medication. God is so good, y'all. I'm telling you. She tells me about one medication, and she's like, just randomly, I believe it was Taxol. She's like, this medication, the main ingredient is derived from the bark of a tree. So it's like somebody just went up to this tree and like, hey, I think this tree can cure cancer. And I'm going to talk more about that later. After the chemo class, they sent me to meet with the doctor, the oncologist, the cancer doctor, just to do like a meet and greet and also to get some labs done before I start chemo. The oncologist, he's just telling me, kind of reiterating what the chemo class was telling me, giving me some details, answering questions. And he mentioned that he was like, 30 years ago, if I would have seen your diagnosis, I would be like, God help her. Like, there was not really a cure for this, and it was the worst type of cancer to have, considering breast cancer the way that I have it. Right? Mind you, I said 30 years ago. I'm 31. Okay? Put a pin there. He was basically saying, but since we have this groundbreaking research, now we have a 98% survival rate due to the substance we found in the bark of a tree. So, you know what I heard? Like, okay, God did it for me, just for me. 30 years ago, he like, let's figure this out because my daughter gonna need this cure. So in my prayer time, the Lord basically told me to go look up this tree and the cure that they have from the tree to see how mindful he was of me, right? So I look it up, and in 1962, which is exactly 30 years before I was born, it's like God whispered in somebody's ear and say, hey, go look at that bark on that tree. So they did 30 years of testing, and in December of 1992, which is the year I was born, I'm calling it my first Christmas gift, the FDA approved this for treatment to cure cancer. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, God was saying, hey, my daughter about to need this. Y'all got 30 years to perfect it because she gonna need it. And he did that just for me. I feel like we take the miracles of God too lightly. By the time I met with the oncologist, it was October 23rd. So the whole process and diagnosis and treatment scheduling took about a complete month because I initially went in for my breast exam September 25th, and I didn't get to meet with the oncologist until October 23rd, and they had me scheduled to start chemo November 1st. Initially, they told me that I had stage 1 cancer because of the new findings and how easy it is to treat, but on my official paperwork, it says it's between stage 2 and 3. So I started chemo November 1st, and that initial treatment was about 5.5 to 6 hours long. And the 2 after it were only about 3 hours long, and it goes in a cycle. So I have the long one, 5 to 6 hours, and then 2 3-hour ones, and then I go back to the 6 hours. So yes, that's how I found out that I have breast cancer, just doing a self-exam. Everybody, I don't care how old you are, if it runs in your family or not, do breast exams. Early detection saves lives. Who's to say if I would have found this out when I was 40 or 50 when they require you to get a mammogram, how far along it would have been, or if I would have had any symptoms, because I didn't have any pain. I didn't have any problems concerning my breast other than the fact that I felt the lump. And that's all we have for today. Thank you everybody for listening to my story time and joining in on the journey. I hope that you heard something that will spark you to go and get that breast exam no matter what. Do a self-exam, ladies. Don't forget to be on the lookout for my haircut journey. The official video should be up soon. That was exciting. Follow my journey on Instagram at Modestly Maya and also on Facebook, Modest Maya. Feel free to leave any size donation via Cash App, $ It's Modest Maya. And yeah, like, follow, subscribe, all the good stuff. And I love to hear your stories as well.